Hello and welcome to Courageous Leaders Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about the tension that can get created when human beings work together. So maybe as a leader you're working with someone in the team that is just not gelling, or when your team members are working together, helping you understand what could be going on to help you, manage going forward. The thing to remember is we've got so many things going on inside of us, and each of us have lots of different things. So we have to rely on instinct and try and guess how we think somebody's seeing the world. Yet the problem is none of us can see the world the same way. So whatever lens you're looking at it through is unlikely to be what the person's going through. So you need to get really, really curious to understand the individuals you work with. Now, the thing that can cause the tension is either a values clash, maybe expectations haven't been met, or you're working with the chimp versus the human. And I'm going to make sense of that in a moment. One of the first things can be a values clash, though. We all have different values. Some people aren't even aware of their values. And if you're not, I highly recommended you do the work to find out what they are. But they're there whether you're aware of them or not. Now, when you've got someone working in a team, they're all going to have different values. And if you've got someone that's got a strong value on, say, money or financial success, and you've got someone with a value of family, they're likely to clash because they're going to make decisions from a very, very different place. And it's like if someone's got a curious value, but someone likes to have, safety and security and just likes to know the facts, again, they're likely to clash. So taking the time to actually understand who in your team has got what values. So many leaders I speak to, when I ask them, do you know the values of the team? They don't know. They know the values of the company, but not of the individuals. And all of us, the way and who we are, it's our values makes up who we are. That's what we create our boundaries around, our decision making, and what can lead to any conflict. So I really strongly value courage. It was actually a value I introduced to help me run the business. But someone who values courage, so like taking action, putting yourself out there, expanding your comfort zone, can be really challenging if I'm leading someone who values security and risk avoidance. That's going to be challenging. So I've got to understand that I need patience with that person to do more encouragement to help them lean into courage and appreciate the value they've got of security. They might not want to do the promotion yet. They might not going to leave their job because that is a too big a risk than maybe what I would see with the value of courage. Think about in terms of how this will work with your team. But we've also got clients. A lot of tension gets created with clients. So think about, if you're working with a client that values perfection and, the team are really valuing innovation, again, there's likely to be a clash because the decision and the pace at which they'll make decisions will be very, very different. So values can be really, really at the heart of how you can get to understand someone, understand why they're making the decisions they are, and how to actually get your team to connect. So also, if your team knows each other's values, they can have an appreciation of why somebody needs to get home to look after their family, but maybe they'll log back on later. Or say someone will work all weekend. It's because their values will be driving a lot of that. So I can't stress how important it is. Even if you just focused on values, that could make a massive difference in eliminating tension that can be created with the team and within your clients. The second thing to look at is tension gets created when expectations are not being met. So all of us have different expectations, and sometimes we set our expectations too high. So that's one thing, is to recognize, are your expectations actually achievable for people to get to? Now, when I go into companies and I talk to the teams and I say, what is the one thing you need more of? It's to have more clarity. We really, truly need to understand what is expected of us. I think we all have it inside us. We say it to our heads, but we forget we actually haven't communicated what's expected of us. So not of us, of our team. We don't tell them. We make too many assumptions that they know what we want them to do and how we want them to do it. And some of these expectations can also become like your rules. So if they get broken, you can actually get really quite pissed off, and your body language will really show this person you're not happy, but they might not recognize why your rule has even been broken. So for example, my husband used to get really annoyed with me in the way I stacked the dishwasher. And I'd get all this huffing and puffing, and I wouldn't know why. And it wasn't until he came to the coaching training with me and learnt about rules and the expectations we had. And he said to me, I've not actually told you what my rule is and how I stack a dishwasher. So no wonder I'm getting annoyed. And no wonder you're getting annoyed with me getting annoyed because you don't know that's my rule. I was willing to compromise. I don't really care how a dishwasher's stacked. So we're quite happy to meet his expectation. Tension has been diffused. I also worked with a client that putting the Hoover in a certain way just really wound up his wife, yet he was still doing it. And I was just like, you do know that's just one of her rules. And does it bother you where it goes? Well, no. So why are you creating tension over something that you just know your wife likes to put the Hoover back a certain way? Think about, do your team know the expectations you expect? Are you even clear on what you expect? Maybe write them down first under each person's name that you lead, even your clients, because this works exactly the same with managing the tension with your clients, and go, have I communicated this? I would then sit down with your team and ask them to play back to you what is it you believe is expected of you to check you have alignment. The number one thing that can really cause stress is when expectations are not met. And again, as you think you've got your values, the values, everyone's clear on expectations. Just think already the highest percentage you can of eliminated stress and tension that can be taken away to allow you all to actually focus on what is important. Now, the third thing is recognizing if you're working with your chimp or your human. Now, what do I mean by this? You might think I sound crazy. Those who've read Steve and Peter's book, The Chimp Paradox, will be aware of this. We all have a chimp. It's the emotional part of our brain. And then we've got the human side, which is right here, our executive part of our brain. And then we've got our computer, which stores all of our memories, our facts, our beliefs, that gives advice to your human and your chimp. Now, there is absolutely no point trying to lead or coach someone if they're in their chimp, if they're operating and communicating from chimp mode. How can you tell if someone's in chimp? The chimp shows up with emotion. The chimp shows up frustrated, annoyed, ranting, blaming someone else. This is not fair. This shouldn't have been done. So if you recognize someone's in that chimp mode, be very, very careful not to react. Because if you react back, you are actually reacting back from your chimp. Your chimp has suddenly gone, hang on a minute, who's this person? This could be a threat. How dare they say all these things? And then your chimp goes in to protect you. So suddenly we've got two chimps going at each other, and you're not going to get anywhere in that mode. You will not get to a solution. You're just likely to create bigger problems. And likely in an hour's time, both of you, at least one of you, is going to be apologizing for your behavior. So what you want to do as a leader is, if you recognize your client has shown up as chimp, or an individual or some people in your team, is just pause for a minute. Let them just get off their chest what they need in a constructive way. So we call this exercising the chimp. Allow them just to go blah, 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 whatever it is they need to say. Then you can ask them literally to say, okay, I can hear you. I hear you very emotional about this. Let's just for the moment help us look at the facts. What are some of the facts that is going on? Help me understand where you're coming through it from. What have you just experienced? Try and get them to access the human part of their brain that goes into fact, that goes into logic, that goes into reason, to calm the situation down. So you staying very calm and being in your human mode as well will help to calm the chimp down. It's also then kind of accepting the situation, okay, let's accept what's in our control and what's out of our control. And if we're getting emotionally annoyed about something that's out of our control, then what is in our control to manage it? So again, taking them back to the human part of the thinking. But this tension will get created because somebody's shown up in their chimp. And you as a leader can coach them to access the human part of their brain versus reacting to them from a chimp mode as well. Very, very powerful work where you're actually helping someone get very, very strong mind management and go back to their human, which is who they are. They're not the chimp. The chimp hijacks the human, helping them get back to their human. They can go back to their potential and do really well. So we've got 3 things there to think about. What can help you eliminate some tension between people? We've got values, people's values clashing. So how can you get to know your team's values? And it's a lovely exercise to do with people to show that you care about them. If someone says to me, oh, Joe, I'd love to know what your values are. It's like, okay, you want to see me. You want to understand me. You want to build a relationship with me. And get really curious about the difference of the values that are in the team and what that means and how they then make their decisions. You've then got expectations. Write down your expectations you have of people and check that they're very, very clear. And do this with your clients as well. Make sure, are you clear on what the client expects from you? Have you done that exercise? And then thinking about, am I leading someone when they're in their chimp? And how do I make sure I don't react to that? How do I help them access the more reason, logic, so they can really be in the human mode versus creating more tension and friction between the relationship? These three things alone can massively help you navigate tension. This is not to take away from the fact of storming. I think in a good old brainstorm, getting a bit of debate and storming and tension in a good brainstorm to get innovation and ideas, that's healthy tension. But when you've got tension that is affecting people's working lives, affecting their mindset, their well-being, they're not enjoying coming into the workplace, that tension it can't be avoided, it needs to be managed. And unfortunately, I see too many leaders try and avoid that tension, hoping they'll just sort it out themselves, versus leaning in and coaching and trying to help eliminate what's creating the tension in the first place. So this is something that can be very, very powerful. It's something I've had to learn a lot myself. Being in creative agencies, I had to navigate a lot of tension between creatives and being in project management. You know, the value of creativity and the value of wanting to deliver on time definitely caused a clash. The creative's expectation of winning awards, my expectation of coming in on budget, still doing great work. And also then not allowing my chimp to get frustrated when I just had creatives telling me, oh, just go again without much direction, because they just wanted to keep pushing the idea and didn't sign it off. So I've experienced a lot of these things, which has created a lot of tension in me that I look back and go, was that really necessary? And what can I learn from that now to think about how I show up and how I can not waste that energy and put that energy towards something really, really good. So I hope that's helped. And take a moment to just reflect and look at the tension that you can really make a difference with. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed it and got real value that you can take into your leadership. If I could do a quick ask, if you could subscribe, it really helps us to keep bringing an excellent podcast to you. Take care and see you next week.